JT Wistrcill of Locked On Utes. The year 2030-2031 marks the second death of the Pac-12, the new Pac-12. Because, here's my case, because the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC in that 2-year span, 2030-2031, are all going to be shaken up, at the very least, through their TV contract. Each of those leagues are being reworked by ESPN or Fox or their major carriers. On top of that, it is the threshold where Clemson and Florida State and Miami, North Carolina, whoever feels more financially comfortable leaving the ACC. We know that conference is likely going to see some sort of realignment in the next 4 years when it becomes a cheaper price tag. For the Big 12, from there, they have the opportunity to lose schools, gain schools, stay the same. I believe that if the Pac-12 is at all profitable in the next 4 years, if they're even able to put football together, a school like Sacramento State or a school like Washington State or Oregon State, and I still see a lot of value in Washington State and Oregon State, massive alumni bases in Portland and Seattle, they carry top half viewership of the dead Pac-12. Those schools, they're not here for the long run of the Pac-12. They're here to make money. Just like anybody else, we already said, if Utah was given the offer tomorrow to the Big Ten, they would go. You know who else would?
True.
Probably everybody else, everybody in the Big 12. It's just $20 million more per year. If you're a Pac-12 school and you find yourself profitable, that's your goal, and the Big 12 says, hey, here's an invite, and you can make $20 million more a year, it's what you would do. I believe because we are on the cusp, the precipice of some major shakeups in college sports due to mostly TV networks, there's no way the Pac-12 survives past that.
You're probably right, which I hate because it's like what you mentioned. Like I don't want to keep seeing the Pac-12 get trampled. When the first go around of this, I get labeled anti-Big 12. I was simply just a traditionalist. I just wanted to see the conferences and leagues stay together as they were. I like college football the way it was. Call me crazy. So that's where it was unfortunate that it broke apart. I think there's been some great things now that have come out from the Big 12. But yeah, you mentioned it, just the future of this sport. It feels like we're headed for more realignment, more shakeup, and it will just be interesting to see like Big 10 SEC. And Drake, I'll ask you, what number do they want to be at, do you think? Like, obviously, there's a couple of the ACC brands they'd love to grab. I think there's a world where Texas Tech and BYU, although we mentioned maybe some of these NIL constraints will even the playing field a little bit more. But how much more do we think those teams want to expand? And super conferences has kind of gone quiet for a while. Do you think we're heading towards super conferences soon?
I think both of those leagues, and the Big 12 included, are looking less at a number of schools in their conference and more at a number that has a dollar sign next to it. That's what matters most, is if ESPN says, hey, we consider you a much more valuable product with Clemson and Florida State, then one, the SEC will find a way to add those two schools. Two, ESPN will find a way to add those two schools to the SEC. I've mentioned it a million times on our shows, on the Squad Show. If you hold stock in the Home Depot and the Home Depot buys Lowe's, that's huge for your stock. Is it good for Lowe's? Is it good for the Lowe's customers? Of course not. But if you're ESPN and you own stock in the SEC and the SEC buys Clemson and Florida State, that's something that you're going to want. You're going to want them to make more money. And so I believe the SEC and Big Ten both are on a crash course toward $75 million per school, $80 million per school, eventually $100 million per school, especially as we get deeper into this House settlement, where I owe $20 million, $20.5 million next year. And then the next year, it could be 22. And then the next year, within a decade, we're looking at $30 to $35 million schools could owe in the House settlement. Therefore, with inflation to be factored here, TV networks are going to have to start paying more money. They always have, though. Every TV deal you sign goes up. And with that, the SEC and the Big Ten aren't going to stop getting greedy. If there is profit in adding new schools, they'll do it. If there's not, they won't.
I totally agree with that too. And I'm thinking even right now, look at ESPN is opting out of their MLB deal, right? Because they're like, hey, that's a lot of money. We can put that towards our next college football deal, or just it's not as worth our investment versus the college football ratings. And I think some of this stuff has gotten out of hand, as we talked about in the first segment. But at the end of the day, people aren't disappearing because Saturdays are still Saturdays, and that magic is still there and it still exists, especially when we have conferences like the Big 12 to me that are great for parity and great for the growth of the sport in total too. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see see how aggressive teams are in expansion and what's the trickle down effect, right? We've already seen that start to reach some of the group of five and even some of the ones beyond that. I mean, we're already talking about Sac State, like with the potential of them exiting the Big Sky at that point then, right? So it's a crazy and wild world right now in college athletics. I mean, it is nuts what's happening with conference realignment, and nothing is set and nothing is really to stay right now. Things can constantly be shifting, constantly be changing. And I'm curious to see, I mean, Drake, for you, do you think by the time 2030 rolls around, do you think we'll lose Big 12 members? Do you think they'll be SEC and Big 10 bound?
I don't believe the Big 12 will lose a Utah or a BYU or Oklahoma State to the SEC. The focus of that conference would be elsewhere. The focus of that conference would be on schools out of the ACC, I believe. Yeah. For the Big Ten, the same thing. I'm just not sure if we carry enough. This is me being honest about the Big 12. Sure. We don't carry enough big dogs right now. We don't carry enough weight right now for the Big Ten to say we need X. We need Kansas State, Utah, Texas Tech. The SEC is kind of in that same boat. I don't foresee that changing by 2030. It would take BYU, Texas Tech, UCF winning 2 national championships in that span to show, hey, we deserve a spot in your league that it keeps winning national championships in college football. That said, if we do see a shakeup in the Big 12, it'd either be adding or willingly subtracting schools. Brett Yormark is a businessman. And if we get 2 years down and look at Cincinnati and say, hey, we're just kind of crapping money away to keep Cincinnati in the conference. Now, hopefully that isn't the case, and I don't expect that it will be. I do believe Cincinnati can recoup, especially once it's a full member, I guess full revenue member of the Big 12 conference. But maybe we have to have a hard conversation. Maybe there's a school or two that Brett Yormark says, hey, you're just not cut out for what we're doing, and you're dead weight to this conference. I don't think it would be the most shocking thing in the world if Brett Yormark said goodbye to a couple schools.
I think it would be fascinating. As you mentioned Cincinnati. Another one I thought about, and last year I think they surpassed our expectations a little bit for football, is a Houston. Houston has had so much success in basketball, but basketball doesn't even really mimic a fraction of the success that football has. That's why you've seen these teams like, you get this $20.5 million in rev sharing. Most will put 13 to 16 million towards football. And then most are just doing maybe 1 to 2 million for basketball. Some like a Houston probably do a little bit more, right? But it's just the truth of the matter is football is much more impactful. So if a school like a Houston, and there's things there, right? Houston's market and all the things of that nature. You already talk about the appeal of some of the Oregon market and the Washington market and things of that nature for Oregon State and Washington State. How does that play into this? I don't know, but I am very curious to see that part of it. Like how much value does college basketball bring? Especially because some brands are just more valuable than other. I mean, Duke and North Carolina, really, no matter what happens to them, like they're going to be the biggest draws in the sport. I think Houston really could have used this national championship. I think that would have been good for their brand. The truth of the matter is you don't get remembered as much when you finish second. So I don't know how much that will boost them in the long run too. Do I think they're going to get kicked out? Honestly, as of right now, I don't think we're going to see someone get kicked out too. Eventually, the first people that would kick someone out of a conference to me, and I'm curious if you agree, Drake, I feel like the Big Ten or SEC. Someone from there I could see getting kicked out. Who that is, I don't really know. I think on the squad show we talked about Mississippi State a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that would be crazy. I'm really curious to see if we see conference commissioners do that. Because also then, like, if you're a commissioner or your conference kicks someone out, are you going to be as excited to jump on in? Certain brands, you're fine. Yeah, you'll be good. But like if the Big 12 kicks Cincinnati out, what's to stop them from doing the same to Oregon State and Washington State in the near future? Granted, they can make so much more money. Maybe they still jump at the opportunity. But that's an interesting wrinkle to think about, right?
I think so. And all of this is doubly interesting when you consider, again, the TV money and the TV networks that are I say at play. They're in control. It's not what the Big 12 wants to do. It's not what the SEC wants to do. The Big 10 wants to do. It's what your brain trusts. It's what your investor, your major investor says to do. The Big 10 wanted to become more viable, more financially stable by adding Oregon and Washington, and Fox wanted to give them money. And it made sense because those schools didn't say we need 100% of the money that you're giving Maryland right now. We'll take a share or a portion. And so it was only right financially to do that. And the league obviously did. And I think that's where we'll get in 4 or 5 years. The Pac-12 probably won't exist in my mind because greed is alive and well and as stable as ever in college football and college sports. Coming up, what we're done but we're not actually done. We're going to record the squad.
Another segment. I was like, dang.
We're going to record the Big 12 squad show, and you can watch that on Thursday night. It drops 5 Eastern, I think.
Yeah, 5. No, you're right. Yep.
5 Eastern on Thursday. JT Westerfeld and myself will be on there alongside all kinds of other Big 12 the Big 12 family of hosts here with Locked On. This has been and always will be Locked On. Follow JT on Twitter. Find his podcast wherever you find your podcasts, and YouTube, Locked On Utes. It's crossover of Locked On Utes and Dose Grande.